Hello, YouTube. It's me, John Avenger, once again, and welcome back to another House of Horror month. This is the 1990 film that came out like 2 years after the original, directed by and written by Don Mancini. Wait, no, it was written by Don Mancini and directed by John LaFia. It's a different director than the first one because Tom Holland was busy doing, I think, Fright Night, or something like that. Yeah. One of the co-writers of the first film. It's the second installment in the franchise, set 2 years after the first film. The plot follows Charles D. Ray, better known as Chucky. He's in the doll already. Continuing his pursuit for Andy Barclay, who was placed in foster care after transferring his soul into him after being resurrected. The film stars Alex Vincent again, Christine Elise, Jenna Gutter, Garrett Graham, Grace Zabriskie, Beth Grant, and Brad Dourif as the voice of Chucky, and that is Sorry Jack, Chucky's back. Cool poster. Child's Play 2. So far, this is the best sequel. Out of all the Child's Play sequels that have come out after this is the best one because it has the most of the feeling of the first film. They do more comedy in this one than they do with the first one, and it's less stupid than it would get after like part 3. Because in part 3, he has sex with another doll named Tiffany, and then you have the seed in the fifth one, and then etc., etc., etc. And this one, yeah, because he kills someone with a ruler in this one. I remember that. It's a lot shorter than the first one too. It's only 84 minutes long. Budget was 13 million, and it made 35.5 million, 0.8 million. So it was also a huge hit in 1990. And it was so successful they did a third one, but like right away because they didn't want to wait. And it was followed by Child's Play 3 9 months later. Nowadays a sequel could come out in a few months right after the first one. And this one is definitely different. I like that it's different than the first one. It's not a rehash. Is Christina at least the girl? Yeah, she's the main girl that protects Alan's Andy because her mom's not around because they couldn't get Catherine Hicks back. She was doing another film and they just said she was put in an asylum or something. That was dumb. That was like a retcon from the first film. I didn't like Jenny Agutter as Joanne Simpson. I think she's the lead lady of the because it says Andy, now 8 years old. He was like 7 in the first one, or 6. Has been in a foster care ever since the murders, his mother having been institutionalized. That's bullshit. She was not institutionalized. They just couldn't get the actress back. And he goes to live with foster parents Phil and Joanne Simpson, who are also fostering Kyle, a cynical, street smart teenage girl. I like her because she's like kind of like a surrogate sister to Alex Vincent's character of Andy, and she saves him from Chucky at the end when they're in the toy factory. And that's a brutal scene when Chucky's body is starting to fall apart. I'm like, yeah, it's pretty brutal. This one is just as brutal as the first one. It's still R-rated, and it's less supernatural than the first one. The reception for the film was a little bit less praise-worthy compared to but that usually happens with a slasher. Usually the sequels get worse critically, but, fans don't care. As long as the movie's entertaining, they don't care. It got a 40% on Rotten Tomatoes, but you know how they are. Evan Dickinson of Bloody Disgusting described it how it surpasses the original film in aesthetics, yes, and also with that it continues. It becomes more adult. Child's Play 2 manages to strip away all artifice and still manage to be an effective slasher. I agree with that. It's the best sequel in the franchise, regardless of what I think about the next 3 or 4 films I have to sit through. And while is it scary? Not really. The first one was definitely more scary. This one's more comedic, and but it's still R-rated. It's not PG-13. And it says here, Cinema Score gave it an A- on the A plus to F scale. And according to Don Mancini and the cast of the Child's Play franchise, Child's Play 2 is considered the favorite film of the Chucky by fans. Yeah, this one and the first one, they're like a pair. They're like Superman 1 and Superman 2. You have to see them back to back. Because it's worth it. I actually had a used copy of this movie I saw years ago. My brother stole my copy, but it's fine. The movie's on digital and they have it on Blu-ray. And it looks great. I think the director, Scream Factory, released a special edition of it in this year. So it says Child's Play 2 was released on 4K by Scream Factory this year in August. It says the release included a new 4K scan, but I don't really care about picture quality as long as it looks good. This isn't 4K, but it looks great. Of the original negative, a new Dolby Digital sound. And there's a interviews by Don Mancini and David Kirshner and a bunch of other people. So not Jenny Agutter, because I'm sorry, I'm not a Jenny Agutter fan. I know you're gonna say, oh, because she's a Binto. No, I just didn't. I don't find her interesting. I saw her in American Werewolf in London. I saw nothing great about that. They show her body, whoop-de-doo. The best thing she ever did was Avengers and Captain America Winter Soldier, where she's not a main character and she's in the background. She was really old at that time. But as a lead, she kind of doesn't work. She's not Catherine Hicks from the first film. And the kills are definitely better in this one. And I love the way Chucky dies in this one. It says Kyle shoves a high-pressure air hose into his mouth. He's inflating his head. Yeah, that's ridiculous, but it's a goofy horror movie. And his head explodes, appearing to kill and decapitate him. Yeah, and that's where it leads to the third movie, which I'll get to. But like I said, overall, this is a fun movie with a lot of, good kills in it. Chucky still sounds great. He looks great. The doll looks fantastic in this one compared to some of the other sequels. In the third one, it looks a little bit cheap. And Bride of Chucky has like that scarred face, and Seed of Chucky. And then in that recent one, he has like, they use CG, which I'm like, don't use CGI for Chucky. It's going to look like shit. Ask the remake from a couple years ago. Just, it doesn't look good. It looks good when it's actually on the screen moving like this and laughing. It looks good. It just looks better when it's actually on screen and not a green screen. There's no CGI in this movie, and this was the early 90s, so they didn't have CGI. And I do like that they have a doll, that they reassemble Chucky. It says here, the Play Pals Corporation, which produces the good guy dolls, recovers from the negative publicity and reassembles Chucky to reassure its stockholders that there is nothing actually wrong with the doll. This one is because it's possessed by the soul of a serial killer. And I do like that Andy in this movie is also, he's still a strong character. It's the same actor playing him, and he's still scared of Chucky. And I'm like, yeah, because he saw him die in the first one. But you know how these killers come back, especially a doll. They could fix him. And, it still has that atmosphere from the first film. You don't have Catherine Hicks and Chris Sarandon. That's one of the big flaws with the movie. But Chris Sarandon was doing Nightmare Before Christmas a few years later. And Catherine Hicks was doing something else. But it still has the spirit of the first movie. And it is a worthy follow-up. It's not terrible like some of the later sequels will be. It's like Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2. It's not as dark as the first one. It doesn't top the first one, but it does serve its purpose. It has its own identity. This movie does too. So I give it a thumbs up. It's a good horror sequel, and I think it's worthy of your time. And since it's Halloween, watch it again. I might watch it again. It's been a while, but anyway, that's my thoughts on Child's Play 2. It's a worthy sequel. So anyway, thanks for watching. Take care, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.